Hello everybody and welcome to Assembly. I'm recording this as ever on Thursday and school is currently bathed in sunshine, although you will have seen a lot of rain as well. The water is currently just below the door of the new boathouse, with the peak of the floods expected in the early hours of Friday morning, so it'll be interesting to see how far it gets. Sport. This week saw the first of our Sporting House challenges, the 5K Challenge. There was an excellent amount of participants and some outstanding performances, with the results based on level of participation as much as times as follows. Houses, third equal, Queens and Clifton. Second, Dronfield. First, school. Individual, first girl, Minnie Axon, and first boy, Oliver Barry. In the staff competition, the top two were decided by only 2 seconds, with Mr Mike Hall getting the better of Mr Parr, and a tight margin between third and fourth, with Miss Mounter just ahead of Mr White. Well done to all who took part, and details on the next challenge will follow. Music. Well done to Tommy Hudson, who's passed his grade 8 drum kit with distinction. MK writes, it was good to start rehearsing with the boys and girls barbershop groups this week, as we aim for our 627 concert on Thursday 11th of February. A reminder that everyone's invited to send a video of themselves singing or playing for inclusion in this concert to Mr MK. The chapel choir rehearsals will begin at lunchtime on Friday and swing band on Tuesday of next week. Art. I'm delighted to announce the launch of the Secret Postcard Exhibition 2021 with the theme Getting Stuck In. Every year, the Royal College of Art runs a secret postcard exhibition where artists, famous and otherwise, are asked to anonymously donate a postcard. This year, our art department plans to run their own postcard exhibition entitled Getting Stuck In. Please speak to Mrs Chisholm or any other member of the art department for more details or check the art club page on iForks. And finally, some years ago, I taught a course called The Theory of Knowledge. It was deliberately interdisciplinary, investigating how knowledge is acquired and used across a diversity of subjects in a typical school curriculum. Before getting into comparisons between history, mathematics, science and art, etc., we began with an introductory course called The Four Ways of Knowing, the idea being that these formed the fundamental bedrocks of all knowledge. They were logic, emotion, the senses and language. The use of our senses and logic are fairly obvious ones and seen readily throughout life as well as in the academic curriculum. Emotion's an interesting one, especially when you get into the question of whether it implies that the heart rules the head, or if perhaps emotion is more comparable to intuition and is actually super fast logic. Language was one of the ones that always fascinated me the most, as it's impossible to do any form of learning or communication if we cannot put things into one form of language or another, whether that be words, music, physical expression, symbols and so forth. Events in America over the last week have largely hinged around the application and understanding of language. There seems little doubt that Trump supporters took his words at face value when they stormed the Capitol, seeking to overthrow the results of a democratic election. One of the worrying facets of Trump's leadership has been his ability to say things which have no basis in fact, but when repeated confidently enough and often enough, can attain some level of reality. For 4 years, he's described media reporting he doesn't agree with as fake news, and that could be seen even on the day of his inauguration exactly 4 years ago on Wednesday. Camera footage clearly showed that the crowds who gathered in front of the Capitol building were markedly smaller than had been seen for Obama's inauguration. But that didn't stop Trump from claiming that there were 1 to 1.5 million people there and that it was the largest crowd ever for the event. Well, Trump certainly does not lack confidence, and perhaps that is what leads him into flights of fancy, such as the press briefing on coronavirus, where his mind made the connection between disinfectant being used in the household to get rid of germs and suggesting that perhaps humans could be injected with disinfectant as a way of combating the virus. Or his suggestion that the United States might buy Greenland, saying that it was nothing more than a typical property deal. Or even his final words as president when he said, "We will be back in some form," which creates some interesting, memorable mental images. Interesting also that it was only in the dying days of his presidency that Twitter and Facebook banned and restricted him, although that in itself raises questions about why they did not act earlier and how much power should be in the hands of a social media company to decide what defines the limitations of freedom of speech. It was impossible not to feel that Joe Biden's inauguration, an event he's been hoping for over 30 years of political career, has come at a particularly challenging time. But he's set out his intentions very clearly, with a stream of executive orders signed within hours of taking the oath of office, and his inaugural speech was a great opportunity to try and reach out to all Americans, acknowledging the depths of division in the country. No matter what some people think of Trump, the economy and employment has done well during the last 4 years, and tens of millions of Americans voted for him. Indeed, given that the turnout was incredibly high, Trump actually gained 6 million more votes than he did when he won the presidency, even though that was not enough to get him over the line. I put Biden's speech into a word cloud, and the key themes stood out very quickly, with the most common words being democracy, challenge, truth, racial justice, fellow American, whole soul, nation, people, common object, unity. It was that last word, unity, that stuck in my mind most when I listened to the speech being delivered live. While Biden's speech was good, I found even more impressive the poem recited by Amanda Gorman, aged 22 and America's first National Youth Poet Laureate. Her use of language and turn of phrase seemed to capture perfectly the mood of a nation seeking to heal and unite. It made me think of the splits caused in our country by Brexit and continuing agitation for another referendum on devolution for Scotland. So today I'd like to finish with some examples of language from Amanda Gorman's poem. And so we lift our gazes, not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Go well, stay safe, and crack on.